Okay, get out the bat signal because we're good and baked and we're ready to talk about some stellar movies that you wouldn't actually expect it from looking on the outside. Now, the first movie I'd love to talk about is the movie The Batman that came out of nowhere and actually had no fucking hope whatsoever of being a movie that would capture people's interests. But surprisingly, you go away from it kind of confused, to be honest. Now, this movie has some pretty awesome acting in it. It's a wonderful movie, and it's got some recognizable actors, but some not so known ones, and it's just a perfect casting choice. You really notice it from the back. And speaking of the Bat, you get the one and only Robert Pattinson, who's putting on a pretty amazing role, given that he has just so many things stacked against him. There's a lovable heroine in it as well, and you start to really get a sense of this deep, brooding, and dark, devious world that is honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they made this considering the success of the Nolan films. And basically, what you have here is a movie that costs you nothing nowadays, and you can see it now, and it's not bad. It's actually really good, and it reviewed good when it came out, and it's worth a rewatch here now, even in a little bit after it was released, 2 years or whatever. Fuck. Now, another thing about this movie is that Patterson plays the most brooding and uh, fucking emo-ish that he's ever could put on for a bat, and he's probably one of the more weaker and brooding of the bats that we've ever seen. Whereas Clooney took on a very stoic and very brave appearance. Bale, a very cunning and intelligent bat. um, and all the different Batmans all over the years. This is a Batman who is just very much conflicted. Conflicted not only about himself but the world around him. This is a bat that has been hurt and deeply beaten down in life, and he's ready to fight back against the world. And oh, does he fight back? There's some stellar action scenes in this movie. It really kind of slaps people in the face whoever wanted to think that it's just another horrible Batman. And I think that's what the people who made this movie and this project really did going into it, and it shows that they're like, hey, we know there's been other Batmans. We know there's great Batmans. We know there's Batman fans. So why don't we just make a great Batman movie with no strings attached? Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon is another fantastic artistic display of wonderfulness. And he actually kind of thought that he was just so befitting for this role. It almost was magical and you resonated it. Now, one of the weaker points I might controversially have is I didn't really like the Riddler plotline. It kind of threw me off. It was going hard into the edginess. It really drove home. And one of the things that you start to really enjoy about this movie is that kind of the best interplay that there is was between him and the Penguin. And the the absolute batshit insane themes with clubs and drugs and all kinds of shit. I would never thought that they would make it a fucking Batman movie. It really hits home, and the Penguin is just fucking fabulous in this. And yeah, I gotta say, the Penguin, Colin Farrell, this was one of my most favorite, favorite casting materials. He knocks it out of the park. He doesn't even look like him, unbelievably. And this mishmash of just these random, not really known actors, Carl and Farrell randomly in there, but you don't even notice them. This little weird mishmash just works very well, despite the Riddler plot line not being the greatest and there being some tie-ins. This is another movie similar to the Joker, I feel. It's just a smash out of the park superhero film. And from the constant butt fucking that we get from stupid modern fucking goddamn movies and their bullshit, it's actually a matter of quite of a relief to sometimes get some. This dark, broody superhero movie has effect. And God, Colin Farrell, what a role. He'll be a cult classic as his Penguin role in this. guaranteed. You fucking mark my words. He will absolutely be a cult classic in this. Just because it's a unique film. Maybe they'll make a sequel. Maybe they'll go farther. But so my fucking greatest idea, and I don't even know if this is in pulp culture and that, but how I would really, really, really like for this Batman to face off against Joaquin's Joker. Don't know if it's gonna happen. Don't know if it's wanted to happen. Let me know in the comments below. But I think it would be fucking dope. It would be dope as fuck. They could face off, and you get these two just broken characters like fucking Joaquin's Joker, and then you get fucking um, what a matchup. That would just be perfect. They would play off each other so beautifully. I would make 3 films, and each would make a fucking goddamn billion. Whoever's in charge of fucking these movies, give me a call because that would be the most epic showdown. Now, we're moving on to movies that are fucking incredible in the first place and actually had some unknown, wonderful elements to them. So here we go with The Thing, one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, it goes without absolute saying at all that The Thing is one of my favorite movies ever, and many other people share this thing. It's just a very dark, brooding, intense movie that is so, 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 so awesomely made, and holds up every time you watch it. And if you're a super fan like me, you've watched it probably several times over and over and over and over again. And it's that type of movie that will leave your skin crawling for many a time to come, believe it or not. It just has something about it that is it's just a true work of art. So how do you even follow up a movie like The Thing? I mean, it's a movie that is tense and old school and classic, and it was only a matter of time before people had pondered and wondered if they were able to make something akin to what is a sequel to The Thing, and I'm sure many of us have played this out in our minds of what a sequel to The Thing could look like. And there's many different, even comic book adaptations and books and thoughts and theories on what another Thing movie could be. And it turns out that a movie so horrifying and disturbing as The Thing, if you just took and recycled that theory, it could possibly work. And in many ways and in many regards, we got such a movie, as I'm sure you'll all remember. But let's stay on to The Thing first. Because the original movie has very tense, atmospheric moments. They're so unique to its theme. You're stuck out in the middle of a fucking nowhere. You're entrapped with this being that can actually shapeshift into other people and disguise itself and also give itself like some intense weaponry, biological weaponry it looks like. I mean, it's just such a good idea. Whenever they came up with the fucking idea for this and to morph it into what it was and what it was before and what it could have ever been, it fucking really is one of those things that is endearing, to say the least, that something so fucked up of a movie exists. And make a sequel, did they ever? In 2011, I believe, I walked into a movie theater and I ate some popcorn and fucking looked in bewilderment as my dreams were coming through true in front of my eyes. And then within the first little bit of this movie, it really grips you in and says, "Oh yeah, we got it." And despite what many people may think about the Thing sequel or prequel or next quill or whatever quill it is a good movie, and it is a movie that really sticks with you. It kind of has some pretty realistic feeling characters. Sometimes when a movie does that, it feels believable. Like you have to have that. You have to have people who are good enough to act. And I meant the main scientist in this movie is fucking on point. He's so good at just feeling like a smart person who's deeply interested in more the greater picture of science and reality. And some of the fucking scenes in this movie are just utterly disturbing and horrific. So some of the fates that people suffer, particularly the guy gets eaten under the fucking thing. Not just that, just the way that the thing can seemingly just morph into. It really makes you wonder what happens to your mind when this thing is like invading all your cells and like becoming a part of your bones and your body and like more metamorphosizing into it. You know, it's a fucked up thought, and it's a really crazy alien. Even if you would call it an alien, it's more of a just a thing. There's no real word for it. And I think that's a realistic depiction of what aliens could be, is could be just beyond our comprehension of what can exist and would exist. And if you're wanting a crazy horror alien romp, you really can't go wrong with the remake, or definitely the original is going to be amazing. There's a little bit of shakiness and rockiness in this movie, but there's some seriously fucked up scenes and great actors. Like the female lead in this is just, she's awesome. She's beautiful. She fucking just nails every scene that she's in. She kind of has, she's very like wary of everything going on, which makes adds to the tension. And she's obviously the odd woman out of the group. And part of watching this movie is really just saying, okay, the original thing is going to be better. The original character, Kurt Russell, can't be beaten, so just have fun with it. And if you go into this movie with a full and open mind, I think you can leave every time. And I've watched it a few times. I had to really cycle my opinion on it. You know what I mean? I had to fucking absorb what actually was fucking in there. And the fucking some of the scenes are just greatly acted. It's all very intense. It's all very nice. It would all translate very nicely to a video game form. Believe it or not, theoretically correct. And this is where we're at here in society. We have a thing remake. There could be another one day. I mean, I don't think this was very successful. I don't think this was a movie that people liked. I don't think this was a movie people wanted. I don't think I don't think this is a movie that really hit the nail. I mean, I don't know, maybe the numbers tell, but I just never really got that impression, which is unfortunate because when you sometimes take these things at face value, they become overly in depth and in tandem with our inner desires and wants for such a fucking brutal ass thing movie where just shit goes wild and fucking people get ripped apart by the alien creature and you see blood splatter everywhere. It's fucking dope as shit. Now, in the final act of this movie, that's when things start to get a little bit off the rails, and I believe it's the biggest hurt of the movie. Now, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, of course, and then there's these fucking, should have seen it by now, but like the fucking alien ship just goes to fucking hell, and there's interdimensional shit, and some ridiculous CGI. I mean, everything is pretty on point, but to this point, I was actually, believe it or not, I fucking shit you not, everybody started laughing in the theater when this fucking when this guy's. This is kind of a shame. I mean, it's kind of a fucking downtrodden that people didn't really take this movie serious because I'm pretty serious about the thing. The thing is an iconic and unbelievable fucking movie on every part and parcel of timed success. But I mean, it's a movie that is a movie, and if you watch it, I would recommend it. But know that in the end of the movie, that it starts to get really fucking stupid, and it's just really not the strong point. The CGI is ridiculous. The creature looks fucking ridiculous. He's fucking dinking and donking around like an asshole, and the weird scientist face, who I decroed was so good and sounded so amazing earlier, he becomes utterly laughable because of the stupid fucking goddamn CGI. And then the most unbelievable. This is another stupid part in it. So she goes and the main heroine chick, takes and throws the fucking goddamn grenade right in this fucking creature's mouth, and it is so fucking ridiculous. It's like, how did she do that? There's just no way that that should have happened. It's really quite entertaining, but like I said, great movie. I like the twist at the end. It's great. It's all well made, but it's one of those movies. It's just better than it should have been. It's just that little touch above. Okay, well, when it comes to a fantastic movies that I love more than anything, it's a movie series called Singham. Now, this is a Bollywood movie, and I fucking love it. I mean, Singham is just so sexy and beautiful in this. I just fucking love it. Now, there's two movies that are mainline Singham lore, and that's Singham 1 and Singham Returns. Now, Singham Returns is the better movie. It's fucking incredible, and it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of cinematic history. And I would recommend you watch it right this moment. Singham and Singham Returns. There's some other ones, Sorvahashi, and what's the other one? There's another guy that formed his crew in the cop universe. But ultimately, what you're going to want to do is watch Singham and watch Singham 2, Singham Returns. They're lovely films. They're way better than they have any right to be. They're hilarious, they're endearing, they're culturally interesting. I love seeing this other culture completely on the other side of the world, and Singham's just so breathtaking, and his mustache is just so fucking beautiful. You just want to comb it with your fingers. He's just, you love it. You gotta love it. It's a great movie. It's highly entertaining. So a movie that I would say is better than it has any right to be is Singham Returns because it's just an incredible film. It's so fucking awesome. It's funny to watch. It's funny to talk along with these people and understand the true meaning of life, basically. And that's what Singham is. It's all about. It's a movie about life and how awesome life can be when you're as sexy and beautiful as Singham is. That's the real magic here. Is that Singham is fucking wonderful, and Singham, anything Singham is in, or AJ Dervin, he's just fucking incredible actor. Okay, well, on to movies that are, by all accounts, fucking amazing movie. Clearly a completely fucked up movie and almost basically porn. Caligula from the 80s is a fantastic movie, and it's just one of those movies where you kind of go back for that, like, raunchiness, checking out an old school weird movie that's deeply violent. But Caligula is a movie that is just really, 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 really good. And it paints a picture of a time in society that we just are so foreign to, but it actually existed. The mannerisms, the people, the way they dress, their sexual orientation, their grief, their pain, their emotion. It's just so deeply felt in this world that you just really can't help but be just torn away by the complex emotions and the fucking incredible acting of Malcolm McDowell. It's a movie that is just like you can watch it today and just think to yourself that it's it's just not like other movies. I don't know if it's the softcore porn or the utter violence or the just nonchalantness about grisly death and despair in the world. It's a very very poignant movie, and it's so good. It's a movie that's like people will cringe at the thought of seeing such a graphic movie, but it's just wondrous. It's a wondrous movie, and it's way better than you could ever imagine to. And it's better than a lot of those older movies that you go back to for shock and gore, because it's very very authentic feeling, and you really get the sense that this was a real time, and this is like kind of what you're portraying. It's amazing to think that like even nowadays we don't even get as good a sets and stuff as that. Alrighty, well, on to another movie that's just so good out of absolutely nowhere is Coraline. Now, if you've ever really been into animation movies, you can certainly appreciate that certain animations are just very cool to look at, and every scene kind of steals the show. And Coraline is one of those movies that just really looks fucking really good. And it's a joyous movie to watch, and it's seriously a little bit creepy downright. Just the way that everything looks, and some of the sequences, it has a very haunting appearance to this movie. It's a movie that is just like, doesn't really matter if it was made for kids, doesn't really matter if it was made for adults, doesn't really care who it was made for, because it's just an enjoyable thing to behold. And it's a movie that is way better than it has any right to be. And I have a feeling that many people will stumble upon this movie I know are not ever hearing about it, and end up really liking it because the art style is fantastic. And anything more of this that's kind of like Little Nightmares would be is just so appreciated, because it almost looks like you're looking at a video game graphic with just how detailed and awesome everything is. I mean, I guess you are technically looking at graphic, but or puppetry or whatever they used in this. Like, I mean, everything has to be to some point done by a digitalization of cameras and shit like that. Well, in my blitzed mind state, it comes back to remind me of a movie that it was actually like pretty fucking awesome when I saw it as a kid, and that is Super Troopers. Now, if you don't remember, Super Troopers starts off with a very engaging and fucking awesome scene where a bunch of dogles are fucking around in the back of a car driving down the highway, when all of a sudden they are harassed by a bunch of stupid cops that just really fuck with them and mess with them over the course of the beginning. The one main guy freaks out and eats a bag of shrooms and weed, and now he's all fucking now, important science fact: unless you carbonate marijuana, it's not gonna do fucking anything to you. So he actually got nothing from eating the dried cannabis, but he most definitely will get effects, not instantly like the movie portrays, but very quickly from the shrooms that he eats. So this scene is hilarious. I don't really quite know what effect that is in his mouth there, but certainly they went over the board with this scene, and it's just an iconic moment in movie history. It's just way better than it has seriously any right to be, and the way that they play a bunch of stoned idiots that are all paranoid and freaking out is quite great, actually. And it's one of those movies that is just quite a bit better than it has any regard on being. Now, simply for this beginning part alone, the beginning part is really what makes it, and it really what takes the cake is the fucking beginning part where they're all freaking out, and you just get that sense of teen angst, ADD, and like the kids are all flipping out. Now, if that wasn't enough, Super Troopers is one of those types of movies that kind of gives it a little bit more than it takes it. And after the beginning part, you're kind of left with a sentiment of that the movie's just getting into just drop out, dirty, slaggy, fucking college, fucking dicking and donking around on every fucking college campus type movie. But I mean, like the real factor is the endearing characters in Super Troopers, and the Super Troopers code of conduct in this regard is that you can kind of watch the movie over once, not really caring about much more than the first intro part of the movie. It's only a very small segment of it, but it's an extremely enjoyable moment in cinema history. It really leaves you fucking laughing and wishing that there was more, but there's not. It's a movie that kind of leaves you feeling that it's like that first little beginning was kind of the best part of the movie. And it would have been nicer to just get more of these doofus's adventures, and you kind of get some more, and you get some crisscrossing of the stories. But just I think that just a story about three bunch of stoners that go on more of an adventure would have been a little bit more. But I mean, of course, what you get in Super Troopers is eventually they get into that they're just a bunch of just complete useless members of the force, and they can't do anything, and they're stupid stoners, and it's it's a play, it's a joke on the fact that the that ordinary people can be like this. But I mean, ultimately, what you have is just it just feels so completely absurd that it doesn't feel realistic at all. And a lot of the main actors of Super Troopers do not at all feel like highway patrolmen or something. I mean, the only one who plays the best is the captain or whatever. He's a classic actor, classic from Seinfeld, classic from everywhere. But some of these actors are a little bit less well known, and then you kind of wonder to yourself, you're like, I don't really remember any of these people in anything but Super Troopers. So it's almost in a ways like they kind of that was like just like their only good break. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or whatever, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the only time I've ever remembered these people are from Super Troopers. So I mean, this would be probably similar to their like breakout known role, I would say. I mean, they just are not familiar to me at all as actors. But it's a good movie. It's worth rewatching. Lots of college uh, disgusting. That's where you get a little bit of this coming on here, is because like look at like the sequence at the end. It just gets so ridiculous, and you kind of want to like, you kind of just want to look away because like you don't know if you're gonna see some titties or see some ass or see some angsty teens doing drugs or something. It's those kinds of movies that's like the jackass idiot, um, ridiculous, big important plot type movies that it's like what do I call it? I call it the Seth Rogenism of movies. And what we have with Seth Rogenism of movies is that Seth Rogen is basically a type of person who makes movies and engages in movies that are just not very good, and it's like haha boner, haha look at that boobs. like, that's not making good movies. That's not making art. That's just like, I mean, I guess in a way you could call it art because, like, if ever there was a movie that does it and it does it that way, it's either American Pie or Super Troopers. Those are the movies. Those movies got the teen angst, young adolescents living their early party years, going to bars and parties, being someone who like trying to find their ways in the world, and like those types of movies like they're so entertaining because they're not entertaining, like they're not, it's not entertainment, it's just life, and life is kind of funny and stupid sometimes, and doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why these movies kind of always shine through better than you think they are, because sometimes I think when you just let a bunch of people interact with each other in a scripted sequence, if it has everything grounded in reality, where they're drinking beer and they're making fart jokes, and like, I mean, you just encapsulate the stupidity of day-to-day fucking life. It's funny. Speaking of stupid and unrealistic things, well, enough hoomin' and hawing about movies that are incredibly amazing for no reason at all, and we cannot stop but mention the fact that there's such a movie called Howard the Duck that is so unbelievably fucked up in every way, shape, and form. And I'll always defend this movie as a undeniably excellent and rewatchable movie, not only for the nostalgia alone, but the incredible transformation of the beastly character in the movie. But there's just something about Howard the Duck that is just so odd. I mean, the fact that it's like what the first Marvel movie ever made, just the fact that it has the most bizarre and weird practical effects. The fact that there's a creature that is abhorrent in the movie that gave many kids nightmares. If not for Howard the Duck being such a gentleman, he would have given people nightmares before. But it's bizarre imagery, it's over the top premise, and it's utterly stupid legacy. It's just an out there movie and worth every second and every penny that you could ever spend on such a thing. I mean, it's a movie that should never even exist in the first place. But that's Howard the Duck. That's the movies, the types that I talk about. Movies that are just better than they really ever should have been. And they're movies that have a unique etching in the history of cinema and movies and theater. This is the part of the movie history where we talk about an innocent and simple scene where Howard Duck is potentially mating with a or female human. And movies that exist like this don't really make any sense at all. And sometimes isn't that really the thing about human artistic endeavors? Isn't the pure randomness and insanity of life, isn't that probably one of the things we want to capture in our short and brief time of existence on life? Isn't that something we want? Is the just complete batshit insanity of what is possible? That is a very great objective, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as something that we should strive for. Out there, bizarre, weird, crazy, fun, for no reason at all. Just utter gems living in the dust of space and time.